Good. Yeah.
One of the cameras is live on YouTube, so just a heads up.
Okay. All right.
I'm good.
When do I officially sort of go on? Where am I time? Just before 6:30.
They're going to kick off about 6:15. Safety coach is going to do 5 minutes. I'm going to do 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Testing 1, 2. Hi, everybody. This is your 10-minute call, and we'll start in 10 minutes.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, yes.
Hey everyone, we're about to begin, so if you could start making your way over to the seats, we'll kick off in a few minutes. Thank you.
No, you don't need to. All you need to do is.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. We're just about to start, so can I invite everyone to join us here?
You'll probably have to check the bunny for that. Yeah.
So, thank you. Well, first of all, it's good to see everyone in person. For those who don't know me, I'm Raz. I work here in mobile platforms. Welcome everybody. On behalf of Safety Culture, I would like to give a warm welcome to everyone. As I said, it's good to see your faces in person after more than 1 year, I think. My message is simple. Welcome. It's good to be part of this community. We would like to continue this. So just please feel welcome and yeah, contribute to us. That's it. Next one is Emma from General Assembly. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much. Hi everyone, you would have seen me on the front door, but just in case you missed it, I'm Emma from General Assembly. I'm just going to repeat, isn't it great to be back in person, to have a buzz? Yes, we can get a woohoo for that. So just a couple of quick things before we get started. First of all, from us, a massive thank you to our partners for this evening, CocoaHeads and Safety Culture. We really wouldn't be here quite literally in this space without Safety Culture, and CocoaHeads have been fantastic partners. Just for anyone who may not have heard about General Assembly, we're an ed tech company. We're based in Sydney CBD. We teach important skills like, I don't know, engineering, as well as other things like design, marketing, product management, and data. So if you're interested in any of that as all, and I have a sneaking suspicion you might be if you're here, check out our website to find out what other free events are going on and what else is coming up at GA. But that's it from me. I'm now going to pass over to Zach from CocoaHeads.
Thanks, Rat. Hello, welcome everyone. It's so much nicer to be up here than talking to you from my bedroom in front of a computer screen. It's been a sad 12 months, but anyway, it's really good to be back. So welcome. And I'll just up front, thank you so much to Safety Culture for reaching out and showing initiative and being really willing to support us as we get back into CocoaHeads for the year, because it's fantastic to be here. So to start with, I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay my respects to the elders, both past and present. A little bit of housekeeping as always. I'm Zach, got Nikki up the front. He also helps run CocoaHeads, and Carl down the back. Feel free to reach out to any of us if you've got any questions, complaints, anything throughout the night. And as always, a big thank you to our sponsors, first and foremost, Safety Culture, who are hosting tonight. Round of applause. Billu and Atlassian, as always. All right. A reminder, we have a code of conduct. It can be viewed in full on the website, but it boils down to 3 key points: to be respectful, be inclusive, and be aware. If you have any concerns about the code of conduct, please speak to myself or Carl. We'll take that seriously. And a reminder that we have a Slack community. Hopefully, I'm sure there's a few people in there tonight, and a few people watching online. Shout out to everyone watching online. We've been using that as the primary communication for the last year, but discussions happen in that Slack throughout the month as well. It's not just on the night of the meetup. So definitely recommend checking that out if you're at all interested in joining the community throughout the month. Is anyone attending for the first time tonight? Has anyone not attended CocoaHeads? Big welcome. Yeah, hands up. There's a few of you. Awesome. Welcome. Woo! I'm sure you'll enjoy. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we're all excited to be here. As always, a highlight to some other events that are happening. Definitely check out Melbourne CocoaHeads. They have handled things during the pandemic really well. Their online events have been fantastic. I've very much enjoyed tuning in. They also went back to in-person events as of a week ago. It was also available online, so I was able to watch that, and it was awesome. But it was really exciting to see everyone there in person and to see what in-person meetups are like again. I know Matt was there, so it looked really cool. And yeah, shout out to them. Definitely worth checking them out if you're interested in what you see tonight and would like some more. And then, of course, the big event, the one we've all been waiting for, WWDC, is happening next month, June 8th to 12th here in AU. We're really light on details. I actually added this slide a month ago and haven't had any more information to change it since. So here we are. WWDC is happening next month. Don't really know what to expect. I guess it's going to be cool. There's going to be new stuff. Should be fun. A community event that I wanted to highlight is WWDC Community Week. It's being run by someone named Mishi. She's very active on Twitter. It's an online event as part of WWDC. So it's got a bunch of watch parties, get-togethers, meetups, talks, panels, discussions, etc. So we'd all be used to online communities for the last year, but this seems like a really cool way to experience WWDC and maybe talk to other people throughout the week about what's announced. You can check out more information at wwdc.community. But yeah, it's an opportunity to meet other devs from around the world and talk about the announcements while I guess you're watching from the comfort of your own home. I have been asked to mention that a paid ticket is required, but receipts can be provided if your company is able to reimburse you. So tonight's schedule, what do we have in store? Terry is up first with part 2 of his talk from last month, semantic transcription. Very much looking forward to that. Thanks, Terry, for being willing to present. We'll have a hiring and firing. If anyone's looking for work or if anyone knows of any roles that are available, that'll be a chance to get up, give a 30-second spiel about that, and hopefully you can find someone who's looking for work or who's looking to hire. And then following that, we're on to the future is mobile, a panel discussion. We have 3 panelists. We'll have a Slido, so you can jump on your mobile phones and hopefully ask questions via Slido. And that'll be it for the night. So again, looking forward to next month. We're still looking for talks. We actually don't have any lined up for next month. Of course, talks are welcome, lightning talks or full-length talks, but given it's WWDC month, I was thinking it might be nice to have a panel discussion where we can talk a little bit about sort of first impressions from WWDC. It'd be fresh, it only happened the week before. So if anyone's interested in participating in the panel, please let me know. It'd be great to organize that, but it'll only go ahead if we have volunteers for the panel. So please get in touch. Haven't confirmed location yet, but as soon as we do, I'll post it in the Slack and I'll probably tweet it and it'll be on Meetup a week or 2 before anyway. But obviously we're looking to do that in person again, COVID permitting. So again, thanks everyone for coming. We're going to get started with Terry's talk now. So over to you. Thank you.
Hello, this is part 2. And just before I start, I just need to set up my system, my iPad. I'm going to run everything from an iPad. I'm just setting up mirroring. I think we're active. And this is a talk on semantic transcription. Just going to do a sound check. Are you there? Are you there? No, I'm not getting sound. Well, unplug. Are you there? No, I'm not getting sound. Technical hitch.
Okay.
Are you there? I'll reseat again. This was working. Try again. Are you there? Nope. So just trying to get the speech synthesis to come out from the iPad. Because this presentation is actually the both of us talking. It's me and the app. We'll be doing it together. I'm just going to restart the app. No, it's not coming out. Okay. This should work. Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Give me a sound check.
Sound check. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Is that loud enough? Yeah, you can hear that. Okay, good. So say hello to the ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Timetable Agent.
So in effect, we're going to give this demonstration together. This is part 2, as I said before, and the previous part was actually theory and concepts, and this is more demonstration. And I did offer Timetable Agent here to give the talk, and the interaction went something like, could you give the presentation?
Sorry, it is not my function to get the presentation.
So, well, sorry, speech recognition misheard there and got get rather than give, but the same can apply. So, well, I'll just do some things that, just a second. Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Just a second, I'm sorry. So this is actually a procedurally based system. This is not AI. And some of the things that it says are very mechanistic. It revolves around the idea of semantic transcription. Explain semantic transcription to the audience.
Sorry, it is not my function.
Explain semantic transcription to the audience.
Sorry, it is not my function to explain.
Explain semantic transcription to the audience.
Semantic transcription comes under the general field of natural language processing. It is a representation of sentence text not as grammar but more in terms of its active meaning. At the content level, it identifies the subjects and actions in play in the sentence. Above, at the expression level, it denotes the interactions between subjects as given by their actions. And at the top framing level, it outlines how the sentence is to be taken. As such, systems engaged in vocal interaction can employ semantic transcription to interpret the intent of directed queries.
So did you get that? Did you get all of that? So really, basically, you're probably more used to grammar, and grammar denotes sentences in terms of verbs and nouns and adjectives, but they are not meaning constructs, they're grammar constructs. So semantic attempts to express the sentence text in something that's meaningful in meaning terms. So the underlying components are subjects and actions. So for example, if I said the ship sank, in semantic terms, the ship is a subject and sank is the action to sink, but with a past form. And so semantic transcription breaks it down into the bottom components of subjects and actions, and then on the second level, breaks it into the interactions between the subjects and the actions. So again, if I said the ship sank, the subject is the ship, and the interaction going on is the action of the ship to sink. So it's doing it in itself. Whereas I had said he threw the ball to the dog. The subjects are he, the ball, and the dog, but the interaction is different. There is a director subject, which is he. There's a directing subject, he, a directed subject, the ball, and a target subject, the dog, with an action of to throw, but in the past tense. So in special terms, that would actually arrange that into denote something that's performing an action on that. And then the top level is how the sentence was framed. Whether it was a polar question, for example, if I said to you, what is the time? Sorry, have you got the time? Or an interrogative, what is the time? Or a demand, I want the time. Or a request, give me the time. So I'll go a bit further. What is your function?
I know about train timetables, train stations and their platforms.
So every app or instance needs an identity or its knowledge domain. So this is all knowledge domain based. This particular app instance knows about train timetables. It actually has a GTFS dump from the New South Wales Department of Transport, so it knows all the stations and all the train services, but it's slightly simplified, so it's actually a simulation. How many stations do you know?
I have 382 stations.
How many trains do you have?
I have 10,780 train trips.
So it knows about the whole system, and I can ask it, for example, what is the nearest train station?
The nearest station is Central Station, distance 0.496 kilometers.
What is the address of Central Station?
The location of Central Station is 482 Pitt Street, Central, Haymarket.
How many platforms does Central have?
Central Station has 22 platforms, 1 to 12 and 16 to 25.
And I may want to go to Newcastle. Which platforms does Central go to Newcastle?
There are 2 platforms, 8 to 9.
What is the next train from Central to Newcastle?
Arriving 1915 at Central Station Platform 8, going to Newcastle Interchange Platform 3, arrival 2209.
So what's happening here is that the speech recognized text is converted into semantic. It's something that means, is representative of the meaning of that. And then the app has a number of knowledge domains, and this is the train scheduling knowledge domain. It has a series of responders that respond to each knowledge domain. And this responder responds to the trained, sorry, was there a question? No. Responds to those trained requests. So it decodes the semantic, determines its intent, but it has to know about those subjects and actions in order to do something, of course. And there's an underlying dictionary, which I'll talk about. This particular app has some supportive knowledge domains. So it also has a sense of identity and awareness of what it could do. And it could do date and time and unit conversion, but they're supportive knowledge domains. But I'll talk about some of the underlying structure. First, you need a dictionary. How many words do you know?
Total dictionary count 32,821 lemmas, including 19,216 noun lemmas, 4,544 verb lemmas, 7,313 adjectives and 1,680 adverbs. The projected word count is 61,125.
So lemma is a linguistic term for a representative of the word. So verbs have a representative, which is their present tense form, and nouns have a representative, which is their singular form. And so the dictionary only is populated with lemma types, so it doesn't need to be included with past participles and plurals, because it actually depluralizes and deconjugates those and then looks them up into the dictionary. Sorry about this. Again, also, you need some form of categorization of the words it uses in the dictionary. And this system uses what's called the word reference identifier. It's hierarchical. What is a hippopotamus?
A hippopotamus is an aquatic mammal.
And so actually, I did talk about this in part one, but this bottom part here is actually showing a directed node graph of the semantic. The top level here is actually the word token. So if I go into hippopotamus, it's a WRI. It's categorized as a noun. My pen is not working. Animate, flora, aquatic, mammal, and so forth. If I ask, who was Winston Churchill?
Winston shirt is a clothing.
What is Winston? Who is Winston?
Sorry.
Who is Winston Churchill?
Winston is a name.
Who is Winston Churchill?
Winston Churchill is a historical figure.
But any system also needs to give positives. It also needs to be able to manage negatives. And so this system can actually synthesize on the fly negative responses for the things it doesn't know about. So it actually takes that semantic that was generated and then does a reverse on it and then vocalizes that. So we're going to ask it about something it doesn't know about. Who is Kim Kardashian?
Sorry, I don't know who or what Kim Kardashian is.
And that was an auto-generated. That wasn't specific for Kim. That was auto-generated. Where would my little red rooster be?
Sorry, I don't know where your little red rooster would be.
And again, that was synthesized negative result. It also needs some form of awareness of itself and what it can do. Who are you?
I am Timetable Agent, version 0.9, running on iOS. My aliases are computer and iPad 2.
iPad 2 is the system name, and that's why it was included in the alias set. Where are you hosted?
I am hosted on a system named iPad 2 on the iPad platform, running iOS.
Who made you?
I was created in the Originware Labs.
It also needs some of the other responders, if I go through some of those, for example, date support. And I'm just going to go through some examples. What is the date of tomorrow?
The date will be the 21st of May 2021.
What is the date of Saturday?
The date will be the 22nd of May 2021.
And then I'm going to ask her something a little more obtuse. How many days in a month?
Sorry, indeterminate day value, please specify the month.
And so it does unit conversions and does temporal component conversions, but temporal components are contextual. Sometimes they depend on the actual date value and so forth. So I need to actually specify a specific month. How many days in this month?
The result is 31 days.
What is this month?
The month is May.
How many days in next month?
The result is 31 days.
And so forth. It does unit conversion. So I'm going to give some examples of that. What is 100 nautical miles in millimeters?
The result is 1.852 by 10 to the power of 8 millimeters.
How many teaspoons make up a tablespoon?
The result is 3 teaspoons.
How many hectares in 2 acres?
Sorry, I don't know how
Sorry,
many
2
hectares
acres.
into.
How many hectares in 2 acres?
The result is 0.809 hectares.
What is 1 mile in kilometers minus 1 kilometer?
The result is 0.609 kilometers.
And of course, there's calculations. What is 1 plus 2 multiplied by 3?
The result is 7.
What is 3 times the log of 1,000?
Cannot respond to.
What is 3 times the log of 1,000?
The result is 9.
What is the value of pi?
The result is 3.142 radians.
What is 10 squared multiplied by the sine of pi divided by 4?
The result is 70.711.
What is the square root of minus 1?
Error, square root of negative value.
So what I've been showing to you now is really human to system interaction, but there's an extension that goes even further. That is when you talk about system to system interaction, which is part of the demonstration. I'll be showing a video, but I'll actually be showing it on a Raspberry Pi device here. I've got a Raspberry Pi 3 and a Raspberry Pi 0. I'll only show you the Raspberry Pi 3 here. And this is to simulate the situation where you've got an appliance or an instrument and you want to converse with it to control it. But rather than put speech synthesis and a microphone and so forth in the system, an alternate is to use conversational nodes with semantics so that you have a controlling, I'll be using this iPad app to talk to it, you have a controlling mobile device with speech synthesis and speech recognition, which actually communicates to the device. And then the transcription system runs on that, forms a reply and replies back, and that gets vocalized on the actual appliance. This is a Raspberry Pi slightly modified. I've put an LED matrix on it, and those people online are not going to see this, but I'll be showing a video in a few minutes and you'll actually get to see the device in operation, but I'm actually going to start it up here in front of the audience to give them a basic idea. Just running it off a battery pack. It's going to take 50 seconds to boot, and the LED matrix is actually going to give some feedback. It's actually going to give the transcription times that's actually running on that Raspberry Pi 3, and I'll just quickly talk to it. So again, this is called conversational nodes. They could be local. The application could be local, as for example, the Raspberry Pi 3, or they could be global. They could be a cloud-based node, so you could refer upwards things that were out of scope for the local device. So the idea is that what the appliance is can handle only the knowledge domain for what it understands.
Attention services is now online.
It gives a smiley when it's there, and if I put the app in the background, it gives a grumpy and gives a smiley there. So I spent some time doing anti-aliasing for that. So you should appreciate that. So this is home services that I'm going to talk to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to address it directly as home services. It announced itself. Home services, what is your function?
Sorry, I don't know.
There we go. Home services, what is your function?
Remote home services speaking. I manage the house facilities such as lighting and kitchen appliances.
So you notice that was a male voice, and you may notice up on the screen there that the home services is a responder. So responders have identity, and then the vocalization that's going here on the iPad app looked at the responder identity to decide which voice to use. So there's a female voice for timetabling, train timetabling. There is a US male voice for home services. And then in the video I'll be showing there was also the Raspberry Pi Zero, which will have a US male, a UK male voice, and they'll be doing kitchen food services and beverage services. You may have noticed, I'll just do another example. If you look at the Raspberry Pi, it's in its idle pattern at the moment, but it'll give the transcription time as a pie chart where 1 degree represents 1 millisecond of processing time. Home services, where are you hosted?
Remote home services speaking. I am hosted on a system named Pi3 on the ARM7L platform running Linux.
So that probably took around 20 milliseconds on that 32-bit system to run. So I'm going to switch the slides and just give a little talk on the actual setup. Oh, can I write on that? I'm just going to plug in my pen because it's not conversing. There we go. So there's two devices. There's a Raspberry Pi 3, which you got there, and a Raspberry Pi Zero. Both of these are 32-bit systems. The Raspberry Pi 3 has 4 CPUs, and the Raspberry Pi Zero has 1 CPU. The SDK is single-threaded, so it's only going to use one of these CPUs. The thing to note is that the Pi 3 has a 32K L1 cache, and the Raspberry Pi Zero has a 16K cache, and the Raspberry Pi Zero is not recommended, which I'll explain in this next slide. It's because of the performance model. This is actually a design of the actual internals of it, of the processing elements. So the process of transcription actually starts with text tokenization, then text canonicalization, and then that inputs to sentence grammar parsing, and then semantic parsing, and then that all gets put into the responder, which responds to the request from the semantic. But there's a performance model in which each of these components actually fit into a 32K L1 cache. So they each perform intensive operation fitting into the L1 cache, hand the results over to the next element, which in turn performs its intensive operation. And so in the end, this whole expression exhibits a cache read miss hit rate of less than 1% and a force write back of, say, less than 2%. But with a 16K L1 cache, that goes up to about 12%. So that's the reason why currently the Raspberry Pi Zero is not a recommended device, but that may change for version 1. And this is the setup. At the moment, I'm running the app on the iPad, but in the video I'll be showing, we'll be running off as a back catalyst app, running through a router to talk to the devices. And each of these devices is running Balena OS. If you're not familiar with Balena OS, it's a IoT Docker-based Linux system. So it runs an internal Docker engine. And so if you have a swarm of IoT devices, the idea is you build up a Docker image remotely and you push that out to all the device swarm, and they individually take the image, form a container, build up the layered file system, stop any existing containers, restart the container, and start the service. So they manage themselves. All this conversation is through HTTP. It's textual. So there's a textual request going from the device, from the mobile app to the device, and there's text coming back, but with a little bit of metadata. And of course, discovery is needed, and multicast DNS is used for that. And if you're interested, I thought you may be interested in the actual build process, the build and deployment process. The build is done on a Mac Intel, currently Intel. And so a Swift ARM cross compiler compiles all the sources to a folder where Belina can build up a Docker image. And that gets pushed over Wi-Fi to the actual device, which has an internal Docker engine, which then unwraps the image, builds a Docker container, stops the existing container, builds up the live file system, and runs a conversational node in a Debian container. So I'm going to show a video of some of the more complex interactions, and the people online can see that as well.
Let's do the demonstration. Swap over into the demo screen. And the way this works is that I'm going to talk to the devices through the desktop app, through speech recognition, but I'm going to address those services directly. So there's home services and kitchen services, and I'm just going to do home services first. My first request will be home services, identify yourself. And as I'm addressing home services and it's registered with the desktop app, it will route that request to home services. Look at the LED screen.
For some reason the video is not coming through.
Progress chart.
I'll stop that and restart. I'm going to stop it and start it again. VLC is doing something.
Where 1 degree of the pie
There we
chart
go.
represents 1 millisecond. Here we go. Home services, identify yourself.
Remote home services speaking. I am home services version 0.9 running on Linux. My aliases are Pi3, lighting services, and oven services.
So home services supports lighting and oven, and its system name is Pi3, and that's why it came up as a.
I may be a little over time. Maybe running a little.
Transcription times. Engage stats.
That's 17 minutes.
Engaging stats mode.
I'll stop
So
right after
now
that.
when I send a
I could
request
go
to
further, but I'll
Raspberry
probably
Pi
stop
3,
after that.
it in turn, in its reply, will send metadata corresponding to transcription and resolution times. And then that'll be unwrapped by the desktop app and then generated into our HTML table and then displayed on a web Qt UI window within its view. So here we go. Home services, what is your function?
Remote home services speaking. I manage your house facilities such as lighting and kitchen appliances.
So that was 22 milliseconds transcription, and the LED display is roughly showing 20 plus angle degree, the best you can. Home services, where are you hosted?
Remote home services speaking. I am hosted on a system named Pi3 on the RMP7L platform running Linux. So
note that we're getting a male voice. So the desktop is performing the speech synthesis, but it is recognizing the responder. So home services there, it's a little marker there to indicate the responder, was the responder, and then home services generates a synthesized voice based on the responder. So home services will have a US male voice, and kitchen services will have a UK male voice, and timetable services, of course, that you've been listening to, as a female voice. Home services, where are you hosted?
Remote home services speaking. I am hosted on a system named Pi3 on the RMP7L platform running Linux.
I'm going to engage handover mode. So rather than addressing the services, which takes a bit, I'm going to engage handover and it will automatically route my request to an appropriate service. There is a routing strategy there, which I'll go into later on, but now I'm just going to use it. Engage handover.
Engaging handover mode.
So I'm going to talk to oven control. Display oven controls.
Remote home services speaking, displaying oven controls.
And again, what is happening here is my request got routed to the Raspberry Pi 3 home services. And what came back was the reply with some metadata, which included a URL. And the Raspberry Pi 3 also hosts a small HTTP server to serve the device. And the URL that was given back in the metadata points to that HTTP service, and in turn it displayed a visual representation of oven control. So now I can talk and control the oven, and at the same time I'll get visual controls back about what it's doing. Set the oven temperature to 400 degrees.
Remote home services speaking, setting the oven temperature to 400 Celsius.
And now I'm going to do something a little obtuse. I'm going to set the oven temperature in Kelvin, but let me do a unit conversion first so I get an idea of what to do. What is 100 degrees Celsius in Kelvin?
The result is 373.15 Kelvin.
So the desktop app replied to that. So I'm going to set the oven temperature to 400 degrees Kelvin. Set the oven temperature to 400 degrees Kelvin.
Remote home services speaking, setting the oven temperature to 126.85 Celsius.
So 400 degrees Kelvin corresponds to 126 degrees Celsius. I can change the temperature unit. Set the oven temperature to, sorry.
Remote home service.
Stop that. Set the oven temperature unit to Fahrenheit.
Remote home services speaking, setting the oven temperature unit to Fahrenheit.
What is the oven temperature?
Remote home services speaking, the oven temperature is 260.33 Fahrenheit.
Turn the oven light on.
Remote home services speaking, turning the oven light on.
The oven light insignia there, unfortunately, is just slightly behind the Pi camera view, but it is there. Home services also includes lighting. So let's try some lighting commands. Display lighting controls.
Remote home services speaking, displaying lighting controls.
Turn the outside lights on.
Remote home services speaking, turning exterior lights on.
And then I'm going to give it a test, which will give an incorrect, it will give a, I'm giving an invalid request. Turn the bedroom lights off.
Remote home services speaking, bedroom lights are already off.
Turn the master bedroom light on.
Remote home services speaking, turning the master bedroom light on.
Turn the garage light on.
Remote home services speaking, turning the garage light on.
What lights are on?
Remote home services speaking, exterior, garage and master bedroom lights are on.
Okay, and now I'm going to go on the Raspberry Pi with kitchen services, but to give you a better idea, I'm going to SSH into the device, and we're going to actually look at the container and look at it in operation. The device's name is Raspberry Pi 0. Its address is raspberry pi 0.local. Let's do a U name to identify the system. So it's a system running Linux, Pi 0, it's his name, and it's an ARM v6 platform. Let's look at its Debian version. It's Debian 10.4. Let's look at the file system. This is the conversational node that's run as a daemon. There's a directory with HTTP pages. This is a POR. Sorry about that. These are the Swift support libraries that dynamically link with the conversational node. And this is the word dictionary that is fired up at startup time. Let's look at processes. These are the processes running. So you can see there's systemd running. dbus is a messaging service for systemd. This is the conversational node here running as process ID 83. There's Avai daemons for multicast DNS support, Gitties, Bash, and the PS that I'm running. Let's look at the processes in the threads within the conversational node. So that's process ID 83, and these are the lightweight process IDs or thread IDs. There's a main thread. I've marked these threads myself. As I'm using the NIO, Network IO package from Apple to do the network support, that is one of their worker threads. And when a connection is accepted, it'll run that on that thread, and the transcription will actually operate on that thread. There's additional signal dispatch source and some threads related to multicasting. So now I'm going to run an strace on the NIO thread, which process ID 107, so that's 107. And that's going to read the system calls, the read and write system calls that are going through that thread, and we'll get an idea of the HTTP response and request headers as in string form. So I'm now going to, let me set up, I'm now going to address kitchen services and ask it its function, and then you'll see the strings going through. Kitchen services, what is your function?
Remote kitchen services speaking. You can order food and beverage items through me for the kitchen.
So that transcription time was 52 milliseconds, keep that in mind. Here are the system calls. Here's the read of the get, the HTTP get with the request of what is your function. These are writes, they're dummy writes that I've put into dev null to mark the transcription times. And these are the timestamps. So the transcription begin was 445 milliseconds. It finished at 506, so that's roughly 50-ish milliseconds. And the transcription time was 52 milliseconds, so they do correspond. This write system call here is actually writing out the HTTP response header. It's writing back a 200 OK response. These are the the serialized JSON metadata, and the actual string reply is actually here. There it is. When it responds with its identity, and that's how the application knows what the responder is, because it's included in the metadata that's transferred. So now I'm going to do a series of requests between the two devices, and I'm going to use routing to route to the particular devices. And the way it works is when the devices register, they also include their routing subjects, subject types, and actions. So home services has particular subject types of lighting, temperature, oven, and lights. Kitchen services has subject types of beverages, food, particular subjects of menu, order, and actions of order. So it scans the request for those subjects and actions. If it can't reply, so the desktop will check whether it can reply. If it can't reply, it'll scan them for routing related subjects and actions. And if it can, and it does match, then route that to that particular device. So I'm going to show that, and I'm going to give some requests going to kitchen services, some going to home services. First, I'm going to give kitchen services something a little more intensive to process. Kitchen services, I would like a plate of pasta carbonara together with a side order of green salad.
Remote kitchen services speaking. Sorry, pasta carbonara and green salad are not on the menu.
That took Raspberry Pi Zero 200 plus milliseconds to process. What is on the menu?
Remote kitchen services speaking. The food menu includes blue cheese omelette, crusty oyster roll, fish taco with chips, rattlesnake burger, steak and kidney pie, and sweet squid tart. There is also a beverage menu. So you'll be able to see as it's being routed which is replying. So it will either show up on the SSH terminal if it's going to kitchen services, or it'll show up on the LED display for home services. And as I intersperse the two, you'll be able to see the two in action. Which lights are on?
Remote home services speaking. Exterior, garage, and master bedroom lights are on.
Can I have a rattlesnake burger?
Remote kitchen services speaking. So that is a rattlesnake burger.
I'll just give you a little better view of the transcription times there. Sorry, I'm just setting up. What is my order?
Remote kitchen services speaking. Your order is for a rattlesnake burger.
Please clear my order.
Remote kitchen services speaking. Clearing your order.
I would like some chips.
Remote kitchen services speaking. So that is just the chips from the fish taco with chips menu item.
Turn the garage light on.
Remote home services speaking. Turning the garage light off.
Oh, that did a wrong thing. Turn the garage light on.
Remote home services speaking. Turning the garage light on.
Thank you. What is the beverage menu?
Remote kitchen services speaking. Sorry, I don't know what a beverage is you.
What is the beverage menu?
Remote kitchen services speaking. The beverage menu includes coffee, hot chocolate and tea.
I would like another 3 coffees.
Remote kitchen services speaking. So, include 3 coffees.
Tell me what is my order.
Remote kitchen services speaking. Your order includes the chips from the fish taco with chips menu item and 3 coffees.
I'm going to go to home services. Is the garage light on?
Remote home services speaking. The garage light is on.
Cancel my order.
Remote kitchen services speaking. Clearing your order.
Can I have eggs on toast?
Remote kitchen services speaking. Sorry, eggs and toast are not on the menu.
I want a fish taco.
Remote kitchen services speaking. So, that is just the fish taco from the fish taco with chips menu item.
I also want chips.
Remote kitchen services speaking. So, include just the chips from the fish taco with chips menu item.
What is my order?
Remote kitchen services speaking. Your order is for a fish taco with chips.
Please remove the chips.
Remote kitchen services speaking. Removing the chips.
What is my order?
Remote kitchen services speaking. Your order is for the fish taco from the fish taco with chips menu item.
That completes the demonstration. I also wanted to additionally give you an idea of the problems that the transcription system has to counter. And a lot of that is mis-speech recognition. Here's an example of a misrecognition. Sorry. Can I have a tea?
Sorry, I don't know if you can have tea.
What happened there is the desktop misread TEA as the letter T. And therefore, he couldn't route it because it wasn't in the routing subject set. And I can ask the desktop what it thinks a T is. What is a T?
A T is a letter.
I thought it was a letter. But kitchen services, because of its specialized capability domain, it actually has an alias for the letter T mapping it to TEA, the beverage. So let me try a direct reference. Kitchen services, can I have a tea?
Remote kitchen services speaking. So, include a tea.
And let me check with kitchen services what it thinks a tea is. Kitchen services, what is a tea?
Remote kitchen services speaking. A tea is a letter or a beverage.
And that's showing you it does have that alias mapping. What will happen in the next increment is that during the registration process, not only will the conversational nodes hand over their routing subjects and actions, but also they'll hand over specialized alias maps. And that letter T to TEA was a specialized custom mapping just for that service. So that'll be transferred when we do the next SDK version increment, and that will all pull together and work together because the desktop will actually use the same, exactly the same mapping mechanisms and dictionary mechanisms that the remote services use.
I'll just stop that there. I was going to talk about performance, but I think I've gone too long, so I'm just going to leave that out. I'll make an exit. So please see the originware.com website. For more information, there is a number of videos available. I'm just trying to get to the... please see the originware.com website. There's videos on the technology in terms of theory, concepts, and so forth, a lot more than what's been shown here. And please tweet about originware.com. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry, that was pretty heavy stuff, and semantic transcription is pretty heavy.
Thank you, Terry. That was awesome. I hope the Siri team are watching that because it's very impressive stuff. Before we get into a break, and I know you're probably all keen for food and drinks, very quickly, is anybody hiring or firing? Want to give a shout out for either themselves or their company? If not, this will be very quick.
So some of you might remember Jimmy, who used to work at Safety Culture. And I have to give the same shout out to Alex and Tim, who's not here tonight. Alex, give me a wave. thank you very much for your time at CBA. We wish you all the best. And I know that I gave a firing announcement for Jimmy last time, but I have to be a bit more sensitive. And with Alex leaving, there are some open roles at CBA. If you're interested, head to the careers.cba.com.au site and fill in the details there. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Carl. All right, I won't hold everyone any longer. We're going to take a break for about 10 minutes. So we'll be back at 20 past. Feel free to grab some food, grab a drink, and we'll see you back for the panel discussion shortly. Thank you.
'cause I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. Because I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. 1989, my thoughts were short, my hair was long. Caught somewhere between a boy and man. She was 17 and she was far from in between. It was summertime in northern Michigan. Splashing through the sandbar, talking by the campfire. It's the simple things in life, like when and where. We didn't have no internet, but man, I never will forget the way the moonlight shined upon her hair. And we were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things, making love out by the lake to our favorite song. Sipping whiskey out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow, singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. Singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. Catching walleye from the dock, watching the waves roll off the rocks. She'll forever hold a spot inside my soul. We'd blister in the sun, we couldn't wait for night to come, to hit that sand and play some rock and roll. While we were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things, making love out by the lake to our favorite song. Sipping whiskey out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow, singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. Singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long.
Testing.
Yep. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. Hello. Are you enjoying your dinner? All right. So for the next section, we've got a few swags to give away. Feel free to keep enjoying your dinner, and if you know the answer, just shout. And if you're right, I'll tell you that you're right. And you can pick a prize on the table there in the front. And if you're wrong, then give a chance to another person to answer. Sounds good? All right. And safety culture employees, you can answer as well, but these are safety culture employee swags, so you might not want it. All right, so the first question is, name a Mac or iOS app that has an Aussie slang in the name. Anybody? An iOS or Mac app that has an Aussie slang in the name. Yes, Carl. Anybody else has an answer? Nope. Nobody? All right, we'll get back to that one. Second question, how many cores is in a neural engine in the M1 chip, and how many operations can they do per second? M1 chip? Anybody? Number of course is what? That's incorrect. That's incorrect. 4, no, incorrect. Anybody else has a guess? Number of course? No. Anyone else? Know the number of cores in the neural engine in an M1 chip? 16? Yes, you're right. It's the number of operations is 11 trillion. And you can pick your swag in the table if you want. All right. So next question is, in Xcode, what is the shortcut for run without building? No. Anybody else? It's not Shift Command R. Yes, Control Command R. Here we go. Well done. You got a swag. Who uses Xcode? Good question. All right. Next question. Which version of iOS introduced NS layout constraint? No, it's not 7 DOM. Anybody else has an answer? Who said 6? Yes. Yeah, that's right. David, you got a swag. Next question. The Apple employee in the audience should know the answer. What is the weight of an AirPods Pro in its case in grams? What's the weight of an AirPods Pro in grams? The closest one would win. That's not correct. That's quite close, actually. 65, very close. Anybody else? Anybody else other than Jimmy and Matt has a guess? 56. That's, yeah, I'll take that one. That's very close, 56. The answer is 56.4. All right. Next one. What is the thickness of the new 24-inch iMac? What did you say? At least a headphone jack. Thinner than a headphone jack. That's right. Anybody has an answer? What is it? 11 millimeters. That's very close. Yes, you're right. You can get your gift. Next question. Who likes Swift UI? All right. How many standard button styles are in a Swift UI button? And what are they if you want to be pedantic? Yes, everything. How many standard button styles are there? How did you know that? How did you know that? Well, that's correct. Yes. All right. So if you haven't got a swag, you can answer the next one. What is the name of Mac OS 10.9 release? Anybody other than Jimmy and Matt? Mac OS 10.9. That's not Snow Leopard. Incorrect. 10.9. It's not High Sierra. What? No, it's not Sierra. Not El Capitan Miguel, I'm sorry. Anybody? What is it? It's not Lion. Maverick, that's right. Yes. And the last one that I have is, what is the highest dot update iOS has ever gotten? Yes, that's right. All right, that is all, everybody. We got a panel next, so you can get back to your seat and enjoy your dinner. And we're gonna start the panel very soon. So I'll get Matt and Imran to come with me to the stage.
So you see, I think we just pass the marks back and forth. We've got 3 handle mics. I guess we need one. But we need one for the, I guess, that's fine. Yeah, one for the stack and 2 for us. I'll grab it up. Grab one. As usual. Cool. That's easy. Oh no, who gave that the mic? Trust issues. Are you okay?
To be honest, no, I actually not okay. I will get through the
I will. If no one wants to answer a question, I'll probably throw to somebody. So just a heads up.
if you see me just like the weird face,
I will not throw to you.
probably like
Weird faces all around. Go for it. And quick live. Yeah.
Okay, everyone, it is panel time. We have some questions prepared. I'm pretty sure that Zach has Slack on his phone for other questions and whatnot. So if you could all grab a seat and we will get going with the next part of the evening.
Is it on mute?
Yeah, it's
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Hello? Cool. I'm not sure because everybody's so noisy still.
Hello?
Can I get every... Cool. Thank you, everybody. We've got the panel discussion now. If you could find your seats, and then we can just talk again after the panel discussion. Thank you.
So just before we get started, sorry to everyone watching along at home. I think we said we'd get started at about 7:20. It's now 7:45. We all enjoyed dinner and yeah, here we are. All right, let's get underway. I think we have some intro slides for each panelist. Am I right? We're gonna. Oh no. Oh, okay, we do. Cool. So I'm just going to very briefly introduce each panelist before we get underway. So first up, Imran. Welcome. Thank you for joining our panel. Imran's had a wealth of experience over about 10 years building iOS apps and has worked for many, many big different companies. So it'd be great to have his insights on the panel tonight. And Enrico. Enrico works at Safety Culture. So shout out to Safety Culture. Thanks for hosting again. Woo! So it'd be great to have Safety Culture's input on mobile strategy again tonight. And we have Matt Delves. Matt is a freelance iOS developer. Matt lives in Melbourne and has traveled up for this evening. So a big welcome to Matt, and thanks for joining, Matt. And we've had a late addition to the panel. We've got Charlie sitting next to Matt, but we don't have a slide for Charlie. Charlie is a senior iOS developer, been around the scene for a while, and it'd be great to have their inputs again tonight. Nah. So a big round of applause for all four panelists. Thanks for joining us tonight. Cool. All right, let's get started with the first panel question. So if you go, is there a slide for it? I'm not sure if there's a slide for it, but I'll just say it anyway. So what are the questions that a mobile strategy has to answer? Does anyone want to get started, or should I get into more specific questions? All right, we'll go more specific. Enrico, did you want to?
Yep, I might put forward something of an answer. What does a mobile strategy have to answer is, how does your team work together? That's what it has to answer. It has to answer, how do you and the people you're working with actually get work done?
So I think I might have just worked at corporations for too many years. My brain's a bit fried. So these are just a bunch of questions on words on the screen as far as I can tell. But strategy. So I think a mobile strategy, as far as I'm trying to interpret this, is it has to answer sort of a user need, like as in, like if I need to do something really complex, like, with banks, move stuff around. Whoops, I put too much on my loan this month. I need a little bit of that back. I'm fine to go to the web. But if there's something that I have to do really fast all the time, that's what a mobile strategy has to answer.
Yeah, so for me, I guess, I'll acknowledge what you've said. Just in addition to that, I think mobile strategy is just your company strategy, what your company goals are, and what the customer journeys are, basically bridging them together. So that's basically the strategy it needs to answer. So I guess, similar to what you've already said.
Yeah, definitely agree with what everybody's saying. The other thing is, I think we should really think about the purpose of what you're doing in mobile. If you're building a calculator, which is a tool, and it requires an internet connection, then it really doesn't make sense. So before you even start thinking about building the features, think about the use cases. If it's a calculator, it has to work offline. If it's a banking app, it has to be very clear. It has to be very secure. Yeah, so I think a lot of engineers really, it's really easy for them to get into solution mode really quickly and start coding. But there's not enough features in the world for your time to be spent coding, right? There are, out of 1,000 features that you can code, probably only 5 your user actually use. So think about that first before you even start coding or even start devising your strategy. If you don't hit those 5 features that your user needs, your app is not going to be used really.
Cool, thanks for that. This is a great start. So I'm going to get a bit more specific now, and I think this is one we could probably talk about all night, but we'll try and keep it brief. So what specifically have you seen fail in mobile strategy, or what areas do you suggest we avoid? Would somebody like to start? Charlie?
Cross-platform.
You're talking to the right audience about that.
So I can't give any details as to which company I'm talking about, but I have seen a C++ cross-platform app written in the Qt framework, if anyone's unfortunately familiar. And that has put back, it's put the screws to a multinational business, just how badly it fucked up. So just be really mindful when you're being cross-platform.
I would actually go slightly counter to that. I definitely agree that cross-platform is not a good strategy. But on the other hand, I would actually look at how much money I have in the bank. If you're a $1 billion startup, then probably shouldn't be doing cross-platform, or if you're $100 billion bank. But if you're just a guy in a garage with $20,000, then you really need to reach both Android and iOS users. I think it's really fair, but just I think once you get funding, it's really fair to actually get your native app up and coming. Yeah. So only if you're a poor guy in a garage, that's my answer.
Okay. I just wanted to check if any of us are programmers in a garage. Could I get a show of hands in the audience if you're a programmer? Oh, fuck you, Jimmy. Liar.
Jimmy, your garage is a shed. Okay, so to put a bit of a twist on this particular question, how many bad architectural decisions have I personally been responsible for? A lot. And the sort of crux of this admission is that when you make an architectural decision, when you sort of decide this is the strategy that mobile will go in, you have to work with your team. You have to sort of understand where are the other people within your team comfortable with as far as their development skills, their understanding, and their ability to actually contribute to the mobile strategy. To sort of build on what Charlie said about using Qt. Qt is good. I remember Qt from the old KDE Linux days back in the 1990s. That's where it was good, but that's about it. So moving away from that.
Yeah, it was cute back then, though, but like, I don't know about now.
Yeah, no. Don't use a cross-platform Linux thing to build your mobile app. Let's just move on from that. So back to the story about inflicting bad architectural decisions. So one of them was for an internet streaming service that I was involved in. I was one of the early in-house mobile developers. I was tasked with taking what an outsourced company had built and bringing it in-house and sort of building on top of it and sort of running with it. At that time, Redux was the new thing. This was back 2015, 2016. So it was actually the new thing before a lot of the React stuff became really, really popular. So I introduced it into the mobile app at the time. I was completely and utterly in my zone, absolutely happy doing it, like not having any cares or concerns in the world, but the team grew. And as the team grew, new developers came on board and they would start to ask questions about it and going, okay, why do we have to do this particular pattern, do that particular pattern as to solving a problem when UIKit actually solves it very, very simply in a way that allows us to do everything we want. And the point I'm wanting to get to is whatever grandiose idea you have about an architectural pattern that you're thinking is going to solve all of the problems, it's actually not going to work within a larger team. And as your team grows, as you start to get more developers, more ideas, more product direction, more diversification, you will find that anything that actually moves away from Apple's MVC pattern, if you're working with UIKit, something more akin to a view model pattern if you're working in Swift UI will actually be detrimental to producing a good product as a result?
It's a great thing I'm not on the panel because boy, do I have thoughts about Redux in a mobile app. But let's go to the other side of.
Yeah, I'll just like to add, and basically continuing what Matt has already started, confessing what we've done in the past, and so I think just another thing that I wanted to point out was the testing part of it. So I've also been basically involved in projects where testing wasn't really a focus of the engineering teams. And I've seen that times again and again where you put a lot of effort in engineering, architecturing, building a strong team of engineers, and you basically write code as much as you want, and then you're building feature over feature, then you're delivering products, but basically not much testing to back it. So I guess a lack of focus in many teams where you don't really put as much effort in testing your code, whatever you're writing, is I've seen a lot of times. So I guess it's not just the engineers, it also comes down to the engineering cultures, the managers, if they're supportive of the idea that testing your code, whatever you're writing, is also as important as the code you're writing. So yeah, I just wanted to point that as well.
Cool. Enrico, did you have anything to say, or do you want me to move on to the next? Yeah, no worries. All right, so we'll move on to the next question. So for you personally, what aspects of a mobile strategy are non-negotiable? We all have them.
Type safety.
That is very fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Carl.
Building on type safety, compiler times. Who would have actually thought that defining your types when you define your variables improves compiler times? It does. Please actually do it. Make sure you define your types and use types well.
Types. Ooh, everyone loves them. Imran.
Yeah, so I'll deviate a little bit from this. I'll say maybe the team trust, something you need to build in the teams. If you want to excel and function better, you got to trust your team. You got to build a team that you can trust and function. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I don't really have any further comments from that. I definitely agree with everything, but I think building an engineering team is a very difficult thing. Like last time I heard about Facebook engineering, they have like 5,000 iOS engineers, give or take like 1,000. I can't imagine.
I hope they all trust each other.
I can't imagine like 5,000 engineers all using the same design patterns or all using the same tests or a storyboard or no storyboard and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely team trust is something that.
Sorry, Jimmy, but I've heard at Facebook, they think NS string is too slow. I disagree. NS string is beautiful. It's wonderful. Use it.
I've heard that Codable adds too much to your binary size. Any thoughts?
So yeah. So trusting your team, like I trust Zach. I don't trust that he's actually, so we work on the same unnamed project at Unnamed Corporation, and we're working with an unnamed Redux pattern. And I don't trust that he's actually telling me how much he hates it. I think he's actually watering it down. And but I trust him to like tell me when he really, really hates it. That's kind of it.
No comment. All right. How do you deal with a legacy code base? Fortunately, not something I'm dealing with these days, but if you have to.
Are you talking about the code I wrote 30 seconds ago?
If that's what legacy code is to you, Matt.
Yes. Accept it, move on. If it does its job, then it's good. Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
I like that. If it does its job, it's good. If you take one thing out of tonight, that's what you should take.
Oh, one thing I love about legacy code is if they are written in Objective-C, they compile much faster than my code.
There you go. Compile times. It ties in.
But seriously, I think legacy code is something that everybody will have to deal with sooner or later in your life. It's like the fact of the world. It's like accepting that some people won't wear a mask, for example. That's dealing with legacy code. But yeah, I usually don't try to hate legacy code. It takes a certain skill, I think, to decide whether it's worth rewriting everything or not. And it also takes a certain skill to estimate that, because you talk to your manager and say, hey, this thing is legacy, I'm gonna rewrite it. It's gonna take me a week, and then 3 months later, you're still there. That's a really bad thing. That's a really bad situation to be in. So if the legacy code works, I would reassess the situation and talk to my manager that I'll need more than 3 months to rewrite this. And yeah, that's.
Okay, story time. Before we get there, this ties in with what Enrique has just mentioned about, okay, you've got a real need, as in there is a part of an app that is core functionality, and every conversation you have with the product owner, the business analyst, all of these people with funky agile terms want is like, you just keep going, we need to actually refactor this. It's slowing us down. There's no safety, there's no testing around it. We really need to improve this. And they just keep going, no. So how do you then convince your business analyst, how do you convince your product owner that these refactorings are beneficial? And at this point, you really need to go, well, okay, here is how long I think it'll be. Here's the benefits that I think we'll get out of it. And ultimately, you just need to keep bringing it up, keep making the case to them that such refactoring is going to produce a better app as a result.
Yeah, sorry, just to add to that, we also need to basically, as you said, Enrico and Matt, you said maybe a 30-second older code is a legacy code to you, but it could be a 4-year-old code may not be legacy to some teams, and I don't know if UI kit is now legacy to you. Now the Swift UI is out, and it could be for some teams. So basically, yeah, I guess it's the apps and products, and it's basically the teams that decides if at what point it becomes legacy. And if you get the team on board with business analysts and the product team on board, and you decided on that day that, yeah, sure, we see the value in going to the newer and shinier things and newer frameworks, is that the day you declare the code legacy and move on and try to plan it. And obviously there's multiple ways to do this.
Sorry, I have ADHD. What was the question?
How do you deal with the legacy code base?
Oh, fuck, I would quit. God, why would you do that? So at my last job at Unnamed Corporation, there is this ball of spaghetti that we will call the ball of spaghetti. And
actual spaghetti?
No. Look, but I am Italian. I do have like some bit of knowledge about that kind of scenario. Unfortunately, it wasn't a ball of spaghetti, so it was no help. So it was just the most like indirection over indirection over indirection, like stuff nested so far down, and abusing like Objective-C types, using like everything was completely Objective-C, and bringing it to management because no one could actually figure out how it worked to fix it. Like there's like that sort of approach of like, yeah, well, incrementally fix it, like make it a little bit better. It's just like, well, if we did that, we'd have a bowl of spaghetti made of Swift, and like maybe that'd be better, but it probably wouldn't. And so, yeah, the eventual thing was like pitch it to everyone. They were just like, yeah, we totally understand. Like your professional opinion is that it's fucked. We get you, we hear you, we see you, we love you. We're never going to put any time or money towards this. The fact that it won't, like, the fact that it's completely inscrutable and like actually drives program is insane to look at it is not really a problem, because we can just get contractors and make them insane and then fire them. And so, you know, there is sort of a limit to how far you can go with trying to help out with legacy code. At some point you have to say, like, I think I prefer living in the real world to wherever I would live if I truly understood what I'm looking at. So that's my 2 cents.
Fair. Cool. So we do apparently have some audience questions, but I have one more question to ask before we get into those. So based on your experiences, and you're all senior engineers, what are the challenges associated with scaling up a team of mobile engineers, and how do you overcome them?
Pull request reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you scale up, basically, the reviews go from hours to days, and yeah, I guess one of the real problems where teams and the way they interact, they manage, and they work together is something I've seen. But yeah, jokes apart, I guess there's many other architectural, team working, and cultural things that you face, and they are exposed when you go from a smaller teams to bigger teams. And if you don't have set standards and framework in place before you scale up, the team's gonna get into a lot more trouble. So yeah, that's me.
What's the smallest team you've worked in that doesn't have code review?
One. No code reviews. Yeah, I guess one.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
0. Always code review.
Your own code as well.
Yes. Like just let it sit for an hour. After an hour, come back to it and go, oh hell, what the crap was I actually thinking? Why did I write this code? It is very beneficial.
I guess one of the biggest challenges as you scale up is communication. When you're working with one other person, the communication is just one-to-one. You just talk to the other person talks to you. When you have 10 people, one of them writes a UI font extension, and the other one writes another UI font extension, and the other one writes UI font extension. And then you're going to end up 3 months later with font equals to font.title or something. And there's like 3 different possibilities. I think that's an example. I've seen teams where we have solved the same problem. We have solved the same, like whatever it is, the permission or the coordinator or view controller or whatever it is, and nobody tells me that they've solved it. So, and it's really hard to find in the code because everything is named. It's really hard to name things as well. So, so that's, I think, the biggest challenge. You're supposed to get 10 times the benefit if you have 10 engineers, right? But most of the times that's not the case because you solve something, you didn't tell the other person that you solved that thing. So
that's the management part of it. They
exactly.
Say like, yeah. Like with 2 people, we could deliver a baby in 4.5 months.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
What if you're a 10x engineer? How does that work?
I think there's definitely a few channels. Like we did like iOS guilds and we did iOS catch-ups. And that helps. And we do announcement in Slack. Hey, I've made this one. Can you review it and so on? But it's a complicated human problem. I think it's still an NP hard problem for me.
One bit of advice with teams: as soon as you add or subtract a person from a team, it becomes a completely different team. There's very little benefit to actually going, oh yeah, this is still the same team. We need to treat it in exactly the same way. As your teams grow and shrink, your team becomes very, very different. So that is something to remember. The team dynamics, the way people interact, the methods they interact by when a particular group of people is in a team, pull requests may be of a very high standard and everyone chooses to communicate that way. When that team changes to a completely different team by addition or subtraction, then it might become Slack that everyone chooses to communicate by. The bit of advice I would like to give is when you communicate with your team and when that team changes, do not expect the team to be behaving in exactly the same way as your previous workplace, as the previous team or anything like that. Your team always needs to go through a stage of figuring out how best to interact and work together.
Cool, thanks. So I've got two more questions and these have both come from the audience. First one, we'll try and keep pretty short, but if we could just get your quick thoughts from everyone. So does architecture really matter? And is the team size a consideration for architecture?
Yes. Also, yes.
Cool.
Architecture is important because it depends what you're trying to do. You're trying to make something quick and dirty that you can get sold out of your startup and you're going to do an IPO and it's going to be great. And then everything's going to fall over in 5 years. It's totally fine. Like architecture doesn't matter for you. And I'm proud of you for rotting over a big business and getting a bunch of money out of them for your tiny startup. Great job. If you're trying to architect something that will last a long time, if you're trying to make it so that something has a solid foundation and like there's certain features and abilities that you can only get from really strong architectures. Unfortunately, we are back to Redux now. I'm sorry. I pitched recently for the first time ever. I got over the line a Redux architecture in an application for the first time. This is in Swift UI and Combine. And the way I pitched that and got over the line is because this is a very safety critical app. And we will have the ability to record every single action that the user uses. And if they send us those actions as a bug report, our testers can replay those actions on a local copy and get an exact same version of the version that caused that bug in the first place. And so we can actually see what really went wrong. And that's something you can only get through very particular architectures. And so I would say that architecture massively matters if you care about safety, if you care about reproducibility, if you care about correctness by design. And that's my sort of thing. I stopped counting my steps and started caring about correctness by design. And that's how I deal with my OCD, but that is a personal thing and I understand that.
It really depends on the audience, but you're totally right. If you're shipping code to customers, yes, it matters. If you're just using your own code for Hello World or whatever it is, then go wild.
Yes, to the first question, yes, it does matter. And yeah, to your second question, does the team size? Does
the team size matter for the architecture?
Yeah, so I guess also as Enrico said already, if you're working alone on your app, maybe it doesn't really matter that much. But obviously, if you're shipping something out in the real world to the customers, I guess if you want to maintain that for future and you want to make it manageable, you want other people to work on it, and if you want other people to basically look at it and understand what's basically this code does, it does matter. And I guess it becomes important when the other people join the team, and you got to manage it in the future as well.
Okay, story time. I have a lot of stories. As a contractor, I see a lot of different teams. I see a lot of different code bases, but this story starts off with the warm and fuzzies and then progresses to a different state. So the warm and fuzzies is this particular app was started and architected by two people who I have the utmost respect for, very well renowned within the Melbourne community. And when they first architected this app, they set in very, very good foundations as far as the use of view models and the use of RX Swift. So over time, those particular people then moved off to different contractors because they were part of a consultancy at the time, and more people came in. Now, the benefit of a really, really good foundation is that there were very little questions that hadn't gone unanswered. So everything around how do you present a view controller modally versus navigation stack? How do you do things with, like, does your formatting of your code involve tabs and spaces? All of those questions were answered right at the start through what's called an architectural design review or document, and pretty much laid out. Now, over time, more people joined, more people left. This code base, because of that really good foundation, lasted for a very, very long time. It then got to a point where there were significant changes which needed to be made to the code base and the project structure overall in order to support new functionality going forward. Now, unfortunately, at that point in time, none of the people working on it and actively involved in the restructuring of the app as opposed to new feature work were competent to be making significant changes to the architecture and the app project. So the real point that I'm sort of trying to get to here is, even though you put in good foundations, you continue those foundations with really good documentation, over time, if there aren't people to carry on that legacy, you will find that the app ends up rotting. And it can be the best laid plans, it can be the best architecture, the best documentation, but unless people truly understand what's going on, the app will rot. So whenever you think about architecture, whenever you think about team structure, you need to think, okay, do we have the right mix of people able to follow instructions, but also able to carry on a legacy from what has been there in the past to what we want in the future? That's a thing that will be very different from team to team, and you need to solve together as a group within the people that you are working with.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I totally agree, especially those last points about making sure things don't rot. All right, so I've got one more question and then we'll wrap up for the night. I can see a few people getting a bit restless, so I don't want to keep you too much longer, but a bit of a fun one to end on. So any suggestions on, and I know everyone has strong opinions on this and we're all developers here, so we can talk candidly, any suggestions on how to get management, design, et cetera, to not include hundreds of essential features, essential in air quotes?
My problem is, how do you get product to not exclude the essentials? So quite often product will go, oh, accessibility isn't a thing that is required for an MVP. Oh, actually caring about error states isn't something that is required. So from a developer's perspective, from a sort of person building out everything, there is a need to actually sort of advocate for a much better user experience and go, well, really, this is all essential in building out an app.
What was the question?
The wording has escaped me, but any suggestions on how to get management, design, et cetera, to not include hundreds of essential features?
Oh, no fucking clue. I've literally quit over that one. It's awful.
I think you need to work with them from start to finish. You can't leave engineers to the very end where they say, how long will this take? You need to actually sit down with them and sit through every meeting. I know meetings are really boring. I know it's more fun to code, but you need to actually be with them every step of the way, I think, from planning, from conception, and explain to them how much effort such things will take, because yeah, not all features are essentials.
Yeah, I would just like to echo what Enrico said. Basically, yeah, as engineers, it's our responsibility to basically echo and give our expert opinion on why which things are important in designing, and what features we should keep in mind. So yeah, in terms of guiding them as well, and being involved from the start definitely helps, and being involved in the direction. So yeah, definitely that.
Does anyone here use the Westpac banking app? Show of hands. Very smart choice.
For those at home, nobody has put their hand up. There's got to be a few of you, but anyway.
Yeah, probably. Sorry, Zach, you derailed me with your questioning of my audience engagement.
Don't make me repeat the question.
No, I've got the question. So with Westpac, I may or may not have been there when they spent millions of dollars getting a web interface into the point where it was like, it looked like it was iOS native, but the moment you touched it, the moment you interacted with it, it was clear that you were touching and interacting with a website. And there was no, like, the amount of momentum and steam, and this might be particular to a bank, I don't know, but it was just wild how many people were just bloodying their heads against the brick wall of saying, why are you doing this? Nobody wants this. Nobody wants a web app inside of a native iOS app. But here we are, and this is my job. And it was, it was a surreal experience. I don't have a good solution. It was just more like, sometimes you come against the momentum of like a bank, and what can you do but be crushed under its wheels?
Okay, something maybe positive after that. So in chatting with QA and testers, one thing they are tending to push for a lot more is further involvement in development, further involvement in design, further involvement in the BA structure and stuff like that. And this is something developers need to take on as well. We need to make sure that when the decisions get made as far as, hey, we're going to use technology A instead of B, which sadly happens a lot at the product level, because product owners do backroom deals with Westpac, and you end up with web views in, oh, we've already gone into the bag out, Westpac. Sorry to Westpac, but yeah, so the point is, make sure and advocate for, in a proper and appropriate manner, that you are involved in the earliest stages of design, in product ideation, in actual discovery work around what a feature will involve. And by doing so, you'll be able to go, hey, if we take approach A instead of B, we will encounter a whole heap of problems. Like, if we go down this path, we will produce a better user experience, it'll be more accessible, have a better design, and will be delivered sooner than if we just buy something off the shelf.
Cool. Thanks for that. Any final remarks from anyone before we close out the session? Cool.
Someone else get
Yeah, just have fun coding. I guess that's it. I'm not a politician. I can't.
Yeah, we're not politicians, as you said. Yeah, I guess yeah, I guess as engineers, again, I guess it's coming back to the same point. We should be involved, and we should be as a guiding light when it comes to the discussions. We kind of have a responsibility of whatever we're building and going out to the customers. We should do our own part and see what's best for the customer and for the everyone involved. So yeah, I guess that's keep raising, keep getting involved in those decisions. Yeah.
Do you have a last or?
No, you go first.
We are all in jail, and the jailers are Scrum certified.
I've said this, but I know.
We have 90 seconds, Matt.
90 seconds of which, in true agile terminology, means I will take 5 weeks in order to complete. So realistically, you are working within a team. That team is filled with other people. You need to respect those people. You need to realize that they have opinions that may or may not differ from yours, and they will very often get emotional as you get emotional. So just at the end of the day, respect the people you're working with and work together to build the best products you can.
Thank you all. That was great. I'm sure all of us have many different takeaways from that, but I think one of the keys that I can pull out is there was an emphasis on teamwork, and we all work in teams, and we all need to, work well with that team, and what works for one team won't work for another. But yeah, I think that's something important to keep in mind, and do what works for your team. So thanks again. Really appreciate Matt, Charlie, Imran, and Enrico. And thanks again to Safety Culture for hosting us tonight. It's been great to be back in person, have another meetup. We'll see you next month. Details about that will be posted later, but thanks for coming, and hope everyone gets home safely. So, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.